Rev up your engines!
Well, Toyota's unveiled their 2022 Tundra, and it has a hybrid engine on it now, too. Now, of course, a lot of people are whining, myself included, that they got rid of the V8 and they're going to a twin-turbo V6. Well, they're also going to have a twin-turbo V6 plus hybrid. Now, everybody knows the Detroit automakers, Ram and Ford and GM, always sell a ton more pickup trucks than Toyota. Toyota sells over 100,000 Tundras every year. They're kind of in their own little niche. And I personally think they made a mistake getting rid of the V8 engine. But on this twin-turbo V6, they're now going to have a hybrid version. It can produce up to 437 horsepower, which is 56 more than the one without hybrid, and 583 pound-feet of torque, which is a 45% increase of torque over the 2021 Tundra. So you can see the hybrid version is going to give it a lot more torque. More horsepower too, but a whole bunch more torque. Now, all these other people are saying, well, look, Ford has been successful and GM with these V6 engines in their pickups, but that's all hype and BS. I'm a mechanic. Ask any mechanic. They'll tell you these V6 turbo engines have nothing but problems on all of them as they age. They don't hold up like the V8s did. That's just a fact. Now, I assume Toyota's going to do a better job of it than Ford did, where they had the engines at Ford, where the stupid water pumps were time and chain driven. When they broke, there goes your engine. Water gets in the oil, blows your engine. So I'm sure it'll be better made than Ford, but still, I am not a fan of V6 engines in a big pickup truck. You buy a big pickup truck to get a big V8 engine. It's going to last a long time. That's going to rev lower, not higher. The smaller the engine, the more it has to rev to get to the same speed and have the same power. So, I mean, like I've said before, Ford F-150 series, they sell 800,000 to 900,000 vehicles every year. And Toyota sells around 100,000 of these Tundras. So they're not basically even competing against those guys. They're making a mistake getting rid of their V8. It's a very dependable engine, 5, 6, 700,000 miles. I don't see the V6s lasting as long, especially with twin turbos. And really, it doesn't help with the fuel economy all that much. Even with these V6, the Toyotas are rated at 13 in the city, 17 on the highway. They're still tremendous gas hogs. It's kind of like putting makeup on a pig. You get rid of a very reliable engine for a tiny amount of gas mileage. I don't agree with any of this technology at all myself. And I'm sure a lot of people out there agree with me. What do you care about a couple of miles a gallon in something that you want to get 4 or 5, 600,000 miles out of versus something that gets a little bit better and won't last as long? I just don't see it myself. Lexion says, I got a 2005 Saab 9.2 Aero. It has problems starting. Nobody wants to work on it because it's a Saab, and of course the Saab dealers are all bankrupt. They're gone in the United States. Now I've noticed smoke coming out of the hood. I don't know what's causing it. With that engine design, they had nothing, and I mean nothing, but problems with the head gaskets blowing. If your head gasket blows, bad enough, smoke will start coming out under the hood because the gasket's blowing and the smoke comes out of the side. It's one of the reasons they don't make Saabs anymore amongst the various gigantic litany of problems that Saabs had over the ages. Start with my video, how to tell if your head gasket is blown. Watch that. Do that test. You can get the little testing thing from Amazon for $30. And if it's blowing, my advice is try some head gasket sealer. AutoZone sells a pretty good Buyer's Leak one in a silver bottle. You shake it up, it's like $30. I did it on a car the other day and it fixed it for a while anyways. And if I were you and if that worked, I'd sell the thing because those things are endless money pits in the United States. If you find nobody's going to work on it. The GM guys who used to import them, they own part of Saab for a while. They don't want to touch them. Nobody wants to touch those cars. And I don't blame them. I mean, I'm nice to people and I work on all kinds of cars. But I tell them, you got one of those cars, good luck. If you can get parts for it, feel free. Bring it over. I'll work on it. But you got to have the parts because I'm not going to look for them. They were hard to get parts for when they actually sold them in the United States. And now they're almost impossible to get parts for. But if the head gasket's blowing, you want to get rid of that thing as fast as you can because that's more money than that car is worth. In the United States, a car like that, it's worth basically nothing. Maybe somebody will give you $1,000 for it if you're lucky, if it still runs good. Nobody wants them. You can't get parts for them. So test it for the head gasket. If this is the head gasket, I'd say try some sealer and get rid of the thing. Or try some sealer and see how long it lasts because it's worth nothing anyways. If it lasts for a while, great. And then when it breaks, you just junk it because they are too hard to fix. The parts cost a fortune even when you can get them, and you can't even get most of them in the United States anymore. Punch'em says, will a Cummins and a Titan XD last longer than a Ram 2500? I'm not particularly a Ram or a Nissan fan. But from my experience, the Titan XD with the Cummins and the Allison transmission will outlast the Ram. The Titans are good trucks. They don't sell a zillion of them, but they're good trucks. When they started putting in Cummins engines and Allison automatic transmissions, they became really good trucks. Now, for years, they had the big V8 engine, and they were pretty good trucks. They're relatively expensive, but they weren't like the other Nissans. They're trucks. They're rear-wheel drive. Nissan are excellent. It's their front-wheel drive Jatco transmissions that are crap. So they're a completely different ballgame. And when they went to that, I think basically the Titan will outlast the Ram. They seem to have better quality control on those trucks. They're building them bigger and stronger. I really think the Titan would last longer. Toyota and their Tundra going to a twin-turbo V6. I think those Titans with the Cummins are going to outlast those things mileage-wise. We'll see what happens in the next 5-10 years as they're out there and get hundreds of thousands of miles on them. But I think they probably would, because that Cummins run forever if you take care of it. Diesel engines can take turbos. Gasoline engines in the long run cannot. They will wear out a lot faster. Diesel's got a lot more pressure, stronger built. Gasoline engines aren't as strongly built. They don't take as much pressure. With the turbo adding more pressure, they wear out a lot faster than a diesel engine that has a turbo in it. Laura Watson says, I have taillight condensation in my 2016 Ford Flex. The passenger side taillight is built up inside. Can I fix it without replacing it? Well, of course you can try. Now, they're plastic, but they're not one piece. They lens pieces glued on. Look for cracks. You could get some clear silicone sealer and seal it if you dry it all off. But sometimes it's the seam. In that case, what you would do is you would take the whole assembly out. It's just on bolts. And look at the seam. And if the seam leaking through, just get silicone sealer and put a bead all around the seam. Now, when you do have it out, the condensation's inside, right? Take the bulbs out, get a hairdryer, blow hair dry in there until the condensation is gone. Then when you put it back in, if it doesn't come back, voila, you found where it was. And clear silicone sealer is great because it's clear. So it's not going to change the color of anything. And the police won't say, oh, you got a crack, I'll give you a ticket for that. No, because it'll seal it. It often will work. Now, if it doesn't, go aftermarket. Because if the dealer wants, say, $190 for a part, you can get one that's made in China, usually for like $35 or something. There's aftermarket stuff, and they work perfectly fine. I often use it on people's cars. Save money. Plastic's plastic. Who really cares where it's made? Well, if you were planning to get an RV and you couldn't find one and the prices were too high, well, there might be some good news, because a bunch of the new RVers seem to be giving up. The dealers that buy and sell them, they're getting an influx of people that have later low mileage ones. They don't want them anymore. So if you want to buy one, you might start looking around. When a bunch of people start turning them in, then the prices start going down. When there's a bigger inventory, the prices go down. Now, personally, I'd never buy an RV because I know a guy who ran an RV place. I asked him, I said, you're always fixing and selling these RVs. This is back in Houston. I said, do you own one? He said, looked around to make sure there were no customers. He said, I never buy one of these things. They smell. You got to park them with everybody else. Their resale value plummets like a stone. He said, look at that one there. That was $100,000. Now it's 6 years old. They'll be lucky if they get $25 for the thing. That's from the horse's mouth, right? When no customers were around. When I was young, the postman in Lewiston, where my father had a gas station, he bought an RV and he thought, oh, great, I'm going to go out and I'm going to see everything and, park in a lake and all this stuff. Then he found out that he could only park with the other RVs where they're all stuck in a dirty, muddy part. A lot of places would not even want you to park an RV there, which is still true today, regardless of what anybody says. They get horrendous, and I mean really horrendous gas mileage. He found out the gas mileage it got. He put it up for sale, and he sold it at a loss. Back in those days, they were all gasoline engines, carburetors on them. I think his got 3.5 miles a gallon, and he just couldn't afford it, and he lost some money. But if you are going to get an RV, my advice is you got to get a diesel. They're bad enough gas mileage because they're so heavy, but at least you can get 2 to 3 times the gas mileage in a diesel than you will in a gasoline one. Gasoline engines weren't made for carrying big, heavy RVs with all the water and all the weight and all the crap. Sometimes you're pulling another car behind. But if you're thinking about buying one, it looks like the prices might be coming down because of people who bought them. A lot of them are turning them in. But that's kind of interesting, too, because I read an article a couple months ago where the fact that the quality of these RVs is getting poorer and poorer and poorer. People don't want to work. They hire anybody, and they're just slamming the things together. They have no experience in building. The quality is just... I gotta say, the only quality one that I saw recently was one of these little bitty trailers one of my customers bought. And he bought it. It was made in Ohio by the Amish, and they have very good workmanship skill, and that was excellently built. Everything was tight. Everything fit just right. The windows, the skylight did not leak. It was well made because the Amish were making it. But a lot of these companies, man, they're hiring whoever they can get and paying them not all that much to work on these things, and they say the quality is just garbage when people will buy them. Things don't even fit right. So Maybe you might rethink getting an RV if you're thinking about getting one. Listen to what I'm warning you. Horrible gas mileage. You got to park with everybody else. You're not like the advertisement. Here's this beautiful like you and your RV and your family. No. You're stuck in an RV park with a bunch of people all over the place playing their music. God knows what else they're doing. You're not out in the middle of nowhere unless you own your own property and you're parking on your own property. People with great views on lakes generally don't want you parking their RV there. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.